Dr. Mark Changizi here with your Science Moment. Today, I'm going to talk about the devil. And the question is what was the motivation in many cultures to have this notion of an antithesis to all good God, to have this notion of the devil? And it occurred to me just recently that you don't really need to have a notion of a demon or a devil that could take over bodies or whisper in the ears of humans to explain everyday criminality level evil, which we talk about all the time. So much of this, a lot of what I've talked about here and there, and in my new movie, sort of a compilation of mini Science Moment videos, Societal Level Evil, is what true evil is at the societal level is, of course, very different than what it is for everyday criminality. In everyday criminality evil, the kind of evil that we're familiar with in our normal life, it's the behavior of people who are greedy. They want more money, or they want more of this or that, and they take it, right? Or they scam you, or they hit you on the head for your money, or they rape you, or these are evils that are familiar to us because they rely on our normal individual desires that we have to, of course, keep in check at all times. So if Doug does something really scammy, someone in your town, he steals something out of the backyard of Susie, we get that in the sense that, yeah, he's a jerk. He just steals stuff because he wants to. But we don't have to think that there's the devil, and we know why he did it. He wants more stuff, right? Or he was angry at, Kevin, so he punched Kevin in the face. Well, we get that. We all get it when you're angry at somebody, or you want revenge, or you were humiliated and you want to fight back. All of these things, you don't need a devil to explain them. We already know immediately I get that. And he just has no self-control. He's never matured. There's lots of things that I want, but we all constrain ourselves and control ourselves. We don't need a devil to explain that stuff. It's quite different, though, when you get to societal level evil. These are the things that people do, not just because they want more stuff or more power, right? These are things they do because they've gotten eaten up by a new kind of meme that's taken over their minds and the minds of the community, whether it's dozens in the tribe or hundreds in the tribe or millions across society. And when these things happen, as we've talked about, I won't go into it deeply now, but you come to believe that these particular righteous notions are worth potentially hurting other people for. Those in the out group should be discriminated against. You should be prejudiced against them. They are evil. They are against you, and it's okay to do terrible, awful things to them. When these sorts of things happen, if you're in the out group and you're watching these folks, that kind of evil is not the kind of stuff we're familiar with, right? They're not even getting personal gain when they do this. They're only getting the pure satisfaction that they're harming you. The pure satisfaction that they're harming you because you are an unclean outgroup. They become brainwashed from the outside point of view. They really have become like brainwashed. It's like a terrible movie where suddenly they all believe this clearly crazy thing, but the community has come to justify it as righteously true, and you have to believe that crazy thing in order to be a member. That's weird, right? How can you come up with something that can explain that kind of behavior? Well, to explain it, as we talked about, you need to understand kind of psychology and evolution and emergent phenomena and all the kinds of things that someone that studies complex emergent system studies is the kind of thing that I'm claiming it in the Free Expression Institute. freex.group is devoted to explaining these kinds of things. This series is in large part devoted to explaining these kinds of things. Loofwire.com is devoted to explaining these kinds of things, and especially I've been on a tirade on this since COVID came out. But historically, regular people had no access to these kinds of knowledge bases. The academics behind this, the literatures weren't there. So how did they come to explain how people could suddenly become almost like brainwashed with crazy ideas, willing to do awful things to people that they once potentially liked or loved, had nothing really to gain even from them necessarily? Why would people do that? That is where you need the hypothesis of a devil, an incorporeal devil that could be whispering into people's ears, that could have been transforming these communities into something else. Because regular old human desires doesn't explain it, right? It's not merely that they're selfish and that they want power. Very often these righteous communities are in fact harming themselves over time. They're getting worse, right? It's not a case of follow the money like it is when the FBI is chasing criminality. Yeah, follow the money makes sense there. It doesn't make sense in these sorts of communities. It defies all reason. In fact, if you had to pick a thing that describes your COVID experience for the last 3 years, especially during the first 2 years or so, it was that each day there was something more mind-bogglingly, stupidly absurd than you've ever seen in your life. You could not believe that they could outproduce the absurdities the very next day, right? Criminality is not like that. When criminals and crime gangs and things, there's usually a rational, oh, they did this, well, he was angry, and she did this because of this, and there was money there. There's all these steps. You could just draw causal arrows throughout the whole thing. Though that's not what happens at the societal level when there's evil. And we don't know how to explain that, usually without these kinds of modern tools. That is what the devil is. And the devil has, in this sense, been with us in spades for the last 3 years. That was your science moment. If you're interested in my newest book with Dr. Tim Barber, Expressly Human, Decoding the Language of Emotion. Darwin asked the question a couple hundred years ago with his expression of emotion in man and animals, and we believe we have answered it in this book of why we have emotional expressions, and it serves also as the foundation for how free expression at the community level works at all.